It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Breakfast as we get into another Monday morning talking about your property news. We do that, of course, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every single day of the week, 356 days of the year, which is why I'm looking forward to Christmas, not too far away. The Monday grind, it is the 11th day of November. And good morning to you, Levi in Adelaide. You emailed through to say that you and your brother are enjoying understanding more about the Adelaide property market. So thank you for that. With those 1,000 plus episodes, we have done a number of podcasts on Adelaide, and you too can join in on the conversation. Our email address is myrealestatepodcast@gmail.com. Now, in response to the growing housing challenges faced by Australian millennials and also Gen Z, instant homes, we've talked about this before, they're emerging as a transformative solution. Not everybody is on the side of this, but these portable and expandable dwellings, they do offer an alternative to traditional home ownership, particularly around the affordability and the flexibility. Now, whether situated on suburban lots or rural landscapes, instant homes cater to the mobile lifestyle of younger generations. And this morning we are catching up with Erit David, the Managing Director of EQ Realty in Perth. And good morning to you, Erit. Welcome to the Real Estate Breakfast this morning. Nice to have you on.
Thank you, Craig. It's a pleasure to be here.
So it's a great talking point, these small homes. Some are called tiny homes, some are called expandable homes. You've got an interesting take because you said that these particular expandable homes, very adaptable homes for emergency agencies, particularly around emergency accommodation.
Yes, we've got a huge housing crisis in Perth and in WA. There is a lot of people literally beginning to live on the street and in their cars. And I get calls all day, every day from buyers and tenants who have been displaced and they've literally got nowhere to live. And they can't get into the housing market. The prices have gone through the roof. It's quite a difficult situation. So these tiny homes could certainly offer an opportunity for people to get in on a temporary basis. And it's looking like councils are starting to consider this as an option and an opportunity as a temporary relief during this period of time, just to give them, rather than living on the street and rather than living in a car when they've got dogs and children. It's quite sad and diabolical, really hard to hear, especially when people come to me and I literally say to them, I just can't help you.
Yeah, and I think the key word there is a viable alternative to traditional cramped housing and living on the street. I know that there was a piece done on this. How proactive is the council that you're aware of there in Perth?
I can't say I can answer that question because the city of Stirling, where I am, they are always looking for options. They've always got an open ear, but there is a lot of red tape around any changes, as we know, when it comes to councils. But the bigger the problem gets, the more pressure the councils will feel, and they'll have no choice but to start considering options where the red tape has to be cut and fast-tracked. It's not only people living on the street and in their cars, it's also people living in families. Homes are doubling up and tripling up, and the pressure and the burden on people at the moment living with families and friends is become unbearable. So there's always a upward pressure where it comes from the people themselves, the population, the citizens. The more pressure they put on councils, the more pressure they put on government, the more likely we are to see results and a response. If people quietly simply complain and don't say or do anything, like with anything, nothing really gets done. It doesn't become a priority. So we really need to be putting pressure on the council as individuals, as human beings, in whatever capacity we can for the people who are really doing it tough at the moment.
Yeah, so get proactive is the message there, because in Western Australia, the Shire of Esperance of the South Coast, now they've developed a local planning framework for tiny houses which identifies the circumstances and requirements and standards. There's still no need for a building permit, but a planning approval is required. Yeah, so that is going to be a very interesting space to watch. When we come back, we're going to talk more about your local real estate market. You're operating there in Perth Central, and we'll discuss that after this.
From powerful and up-to-date news to professional real estate experts with the latest property trends on the Real Estate Podcast.
They'll get to the point where they've got 5% plus cost. If they can avoid stamp duty by getting various benefits there, they'll do that. And then they'll just get into the market as soon as they can. And, you know, for some people that works, and that's a good thing to do because they can't outsave the market.
Is there a bit of bias towards commercial, sort of leaving the residential part hanging?
Craig, you've hit the nail on the head. The power of an owners' corporation actually lies with the strata committee, but they're not the decision makers, or they shouldn't be, in a well-managed scheme.
I see the trend of people moving to the Upper North Shore. One point I'd make probably on the contrary is I don't think it's purely an affordability issue. I think there's attractive buying up there, and you certainly do get more for your money.
That we are meeting, and some really great opportunities to pick up a great unit in a good location, and hopefully at a fairly good price that they can hopefully get some good capital growth over in the first few years of owning.
It's the Real Estate Podcast, talking properties from 6 a.m. every day, from every corner of the Australian real estate market.
And it is a Real Estate Monday. We are talking to Erit David, the Managing Director of EQ Realty there in Perth. Tiny homes, let's get into your favourite subject, I guess, is your local market, the Perth Central, which is where you are based. How's your 2024 been? A few highs and lows?
Well, the highs are that properties go on the market and sell quickly. The lows are that there is a lot of buyer fatigue. The sellers are delighted, but there are a lot of sellers who would love to sell but have got nowhere to go. So it's creating a bit of stickiness and stuck in the marketplace. It's not opening up pathways for buyers to come in. It's putting a lot of pressure on the supply and demand balance. So as a empath, whilst I love the highs of real estate and knowing that every time I hand over a set of keys, I'm giving joy to a new family to move in, the same with the rental market. Every time I put a property on the market for sale or rent, I feel like I'm giving an opportunity for a family to live. But the downside is that there are so many more missing out. So that would be the lows. In terms of the market, it is buoyant, it is strong. There is no signs of it slowing down. When you look at the elements that prop up a real estate market in Western Australia, there is really no relief in sight. The rental market is just as weak in terms of availability and vacancy rates, and landlords' prices have gone through the roof. That is also a direct result of the interest rate hikes and mortgage repayments. So it's put a lot of pressure on tenants. I don't honestly know where the relief will come from there, because landlords have to get the rental yield to pay their bills, and tenants have hit a threshold of what they can afford. From a sales point of view, the building sector is under a lot of pressure in WA. The influx of population growth into WA, the infrastructure demand, there are a lot of factors influencing the pressure, and I can't see where the relief is going to come from in the short term.
Yes, because a few days ago we had an interesting conversation with somebody talking about the amount of people moving back to Australia. The comment was the exchange rate, and as I mentioned, you've got somebody moving from the UK or from America. You've got the price growth, but they quickly make up for that price growth with the exchange rate, and they get in there and they come back and they buy straight away. Very, very frustrating to the point where people are missing out on these properties that you're talking about. So you're seeing that happen in your market?
12 to 18 months ago, we saw a lot of eastern state overseas buyers coming through where they were using the strength of their market to buy into WA. At the moment, the local demand is just as great. In fact, I've seen in a few of my properties where the eastern state buyers or the international buyers have been outpriced by the local demand just because they are so desperate. And we've also got an attitude from local sellers wanting to help local buyers. So if they had 3 equivalent offers, one from a Eastern States buyer, one from an international buyer, and one from a local buyer, and they were all the same, they would opt to go with the local buyer because they want to help the local community. But there isn't as much as I have seen 12 to 18 months ago because the prices have gone through anyway, and it's not the Eastern States buyers or international buyers that are creating that demand anymore, even though they are the ones that are still struggling. I mean, if you listen to watch local Facebook chats and social media chats, I see all day, every day, can anyone help? We're wanting to come to WA, we're wanting to, move to Perth, and we can't find a rental, we can't find a house, can anyone help?
And the buyer's fatigue that you were talking about earlier, how much of that FOMO has crept back into your market, particularly probably over the last 6 to 8 months?
If we look at the GFC, just before that, when we had the boom in WA, that was all driven by FOMO. The last boom we had in Perth was 100% driven by FOMO. There was nothing propping up the demand and the hype. It was all media. It was all, oh my gosh, we're going to miss out. But this is genuinely being driven by not having a roof over my head, not really by a fear of missing out. There is a small percentage of buyers who are wanting to buy and get into the market now because they can see that the market is going to strengthen and that the market may well strengthen beyond their means. So they're trying to get into the market now. But for the majority, from my point of view, it's people who literally are downsizing, upsizing, getting into the market for the first time and need a roof over their head.
You'd be looking forward to a break, wouldn't you, coming up at Christmas and the New Year?
Absolutely. If I can help someone get into a home, you can't stop. So take a holiday when we can.
All right, well, that's the right attitude. Yeah, help as many people as possible. And yeah, it's a very testy time, I think, between now and Christmas and the other side. Probably a little bit of relief for those buyers with some of the rate cuts coming back, but we'll talk about that another time. Erit, thank you so much for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast this morning, and keep doing what you're doing, I guess, there in Perth.
Thanks, Craig. Appreciate the chat.
If you're confused about the property market, don't be. Unlock and educate yourself with the latest trending analysis and interviews. We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.